Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivana Dhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivana Dhari. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivana Dhari. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pavirajagacharya Stota Sata Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON founder BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pavirajagacharya Stota Sata Srimad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Prabhupada Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Ananta Gaudi Vaishnavrinda Ki. Prems Gaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shama Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki. Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki. Shri Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki. Ganga Mai Ki. Yamuna Mai Ki. Bhakti Devi Ki. Tulasi Devi Ki. Shama Veta Bhaktivinoda Ki. Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for coming today. Today we're reading from the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Chapter 20, entitled Lord Vishnu's Appearance in the Sacrificial Arena, text number 38. First the word for word. Adristaya Namaha Kritya Nripa Sandarshita Atmane Avyaktaya Cha Devanam Devaya Svapuram Yayao Adristaya Namaskritya Nripa Sandarshitatmane Avyaktaya Cha Devanam Devaya Svapuram Yayao Adristaya Namaskritya Nripa Sandarshitatmane Avyaktaya Cha Devanam Devaya Svapuram Yayao Adristaya Namaskritya Nripa Sandarshitatmane Avyaktaya Cha Devanam Devaya Svapuram Yayao Adristaya Namaskritya Nripa Sandarshitatmane Avyaktaya Cha Devanam Devaya Svapuram Yayam Devaya Svapuram Yayam Adristaya Namaskritya Nripa Sandarshitatmane Avyaktaya Cha Devanam Devaya Svapuram Yayo. Word for word translation. Adristaya, unto one who is beyond the purview of material vision. Namakritya, offering obeisances. Nripa, the king. Sandarshita, revealed. Atmane, unto the Supreme Soul. Avyaktaya, who is beyond the manifestation of the material world. Cha, also. Devanam, of the demigods. Devaya, unto the Supreme Lord. Svapuram, to his own house. Yayao, returned. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. King Prithu then offered his respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Lord of all demigods. Although not an object of material vision, the Lord revealed himself to the sight of Maharaj Prithu. After offering obeisances to the Lord, the king returned to his home. Purport. The Supreme Lord is not visible to material eyes, but when the material senses are inclined to the transcendental loving service of the Lord and are thus purified, the Lord reveals himself to the vision of the devotee. Avyakta means unmanifested. Although the material world is the creation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is unmanifested to material eyes. Maharaj Prithu, however, developed spiritual eyes by his pure devotional service. Here, therefore, the Lord is described as Sandarshitatma, for he reveals himself to the vision of the devotee, although he is not visible to ordinary eyes. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 4th canto, 20th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Lord Vishnu's Appearance in the Sacrificial Arena of Maharaj Prithu. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Garamayam Dadati Svamparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shriyuta Paragamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Shihitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paransaha Ganalalita Shri Visha Kanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kantarada Kantanamastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpa Triyubhisha Kripasandhyubi Ivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So just to read the translation again. King Prithu then offered his respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Lord of all demigods. Although not an object of material vision, the Lord revealed himself to the sight of Maharaj Prithu. After offering obeisances to the Lord, the king returned to his home. Hare Krishna. So this is, we see the last verse of the chapter. So just like a quick summary of what we've read so far in chapter 20. So we know that Lord Indra disturbed the sacrifice that Maharaj Prithu was planning to do, the 100 horse sacrifices. And then actually Lord Vishnu came himself. He was personally present in the sacrificial arena. And he actually asked Prithu Maharaj to forgive Lord Indra. So then the Lord actually spoke many instructive verses about devotional service, about the soul, actually a lot of verses that are very similar to the Bhagavad Gita. And then he also spoke about the duties of the king for Maharaj Prithu. And he also glorified Maharaj Prithu. I mean, that says a lot about the qualities of Maharaj Prithu, that the Supreme Lord himself is actually glorifying him. So that really can tell us a lot about the qualities and character of Maharaj Prithu. And then Prithu Maharaj continued to offer praise to the Lord. And Prithu Maharaj, he he asked for the benediction for devotional service. He asked the Lord to bless him, that he could always be in the association of pure devotees and to always hear from the pure devotees. And this is also quite instructive for us, to show us this is how we should pray. You know, Maharaj Prithu could have asked the Lord for anything, but he asked for service. And also how we can pray for others. You know, we always get friends, family, people saying, here, when they hear that you're coming to the temple, they ask, can you pray for me? And this is always a good prayer, to always be in the association of devotees and to be in devotional service. So then the Lord did bless him this way, and he blessed him to always be engaged in service. And from those verses, we also see that the Lord was very pleased with the worship and prayers of Maharaj Prithu. And then Maharaj Prithu, he worshipped the demigods, and he praised and worshipped the sages and many of the other people that were at the sacrificial arena. So this is also a good lesson for us. Look at Maharaj Prithu's amazing dealings with people. Everyone that was at the sacrificial arena, he was extremely personal and cultural. He showed appreciation, he showed worship, he offered his obeisances to everyone there. And then he offered his obeisances to the Lord, and then the Lord left. So today's verse is saying how specifically that the Lord is not manifested to material vision, but here Maharaj Prithu, he could see him, he could see the Lord personally. So we also see in the Srimad Bhagavatam, also in the 4th canto, in the 12th chapter, text 11, with Dhruva Maharaj. So Dhruva Maharaj rendered devotional service unto the Supreme, the reservoir of everything, with unrelenting force. While carrying out his devotional service to the Lord, he could see that everything is situated in him only, and that he is situated in all living entities. And then the purport goes on to say, a devotee can see that the Lord is situated in everyone's heart, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Ishvara sarva bhutanam hrideshe arjuna tishtati. Ordinary persons cannot understand how the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart. But a devotee can actually see him. Not only can the devotee see him outwardly, but he can see with spiritual vision that everything is resting in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we see that there are many verses in the Bhagavatam, this one and the one that we're reading today, is talking about devotees actually seeing the Lord. And they can do that with spiritual vision. They can do that through devotional service. So the Lord is saying that he reveals himself to his devotees. Then also in Bhagavad Gita 10:10 and 10:11, to those who are constantly devoted to me, serving me with love, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So the Lord is telling us that He will allow us to come to Him. He will give us the knowledge, the understanding of how we can approach Him. And He's also saying, well, Srila Prabhupada would say that, that we cannot approach the Lord through verbal jugglery, as Prabhupada would say. But actually the Lord will reveal Himself. He will reveal Himself when He's actually satisfied with the devotee service attitude. So that also says a lot to us, that it's not just we can do hundreds and hundreds of hours of service or do all of these amazing things, but it's actually the attitude, the service mentality. And that's an internal thing. So the attitude of wanting to serve is very important. Do we want to serve, or are we just doing it for the external show? That desire and that internal attitude of wanting to serve should be there. But it also should be appropriately. Like when we are asked to do a service, or when there is something needed, not just for our own whims or our own prestige, but to actually do the needful, to do what is required. So also we can see, when one is spiritually advanced, one can understand the name, form, qualities, pastimes, and paraphernalia of the Supreme Lord. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 18:55. Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvataha. One can understand in truth the Supreme Personality of Godhead only when one is engaged in devotional service. So there are so many verses that are telling us, emphasizing, Shri Shri Radharanath ki, Shri Giri Govardhan ki, Shri Gaura Hariya ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. So there are so many verses in Vedic literature that are saying that devotional service can allow us to actually have that personal darshan of the Lord. And we also even see in the Bhagavad Gita how Krishna revealed his universal form to Arjuna. And we also hear that that form was not revealed to many people. So it was incredibly special that Arjuna got to see this universal form. But then eventually Arjuna was asking Krishna, can you go back to your normal form? So Krishna then took the form of his threefold bending form, and that's the one that attracts the minds of the devotees. Yes, it may be cool to see the universal form, and maybe for a few minutes we might be like, whoa, oh my God, that's so cool. But then eventually we might be like Arjuna, quite fearful. And we want to then see this beautiful two-armed form of Krishna with his flute and his cows and, the peacocks in Vrindavan. So we see in Vedic literature, in the Vedic language, in Sanskrit, there's the saying, raso vaisa. So raso vaisa rasamhe evayam labvanandi bhavati. And it means when one understands the personality of Godhead, the reservoir of pleasure, Krishna, he actually becomes transcendently blissful. So this statement is saying how Krishna is actually the embodiment of affectionate relationships, loving relish, and transcendental sweetness. So why would we not want to have this personal understanding of Krishna? Why would we not want to have this direct perception of him? So devotional service is allowing us to eventually understand this transcendental sweetness and these affectionate relationships. We wouldn't be very happy without relationships in our lives. If we didn't have our friends or family or the devotees, life would be extremely dull. It would be depressing, actually. Because everything is governed by taste, by ras, and relationships are the embodiment of ras, and Krishna is the source and the embodiment of all ras. So, us as living entities, we are within this creation. We are within the Lord's potency, but we can decide if we want to be in the internal potency or the external. So do we decide if we want to take our natural position as loving servants, or do we want to be forgetful of the Lord? So the Lord's energy, as the external and internal energy, it's unlimited. It's unlimited, it's everywhere. But it's also how we interact with the Lord's energy. Are we interacting with the Lord's energy in a favorable way? Because then the Lord can reciprocate with us. If we decide to engage in His service, He will reciprocate with us by giving us service, by giving us that facility to serve. But if we decide that we want to do our own thing and not include the Lord, then the unlimited potency of the Lord will be manifested as the external energy. So we can decide, it's our choice. So it actually depends on how we approach the Lord. So if we want to be favorably absorbed and approaching the Lord, then the Lord will manifest Himself with His internal energy. But if we're not interested in seeing that, then all that we will see is the external energy. We won't see the Lord as a person. We may see the Lord as His energies, the external energy, but we won't see Him as this personal feature. So even though Krishna is everything, He's present in everything, but because we cannot fully appreciate Krishna, we cannot see Him as that loving personal relationship. So we see for the devotees, for anyone that actually appreciates the Lord, He then manifests Himself in His internal potency. And we see that with this verse. This verse is specifically saying that the Lord is not an object of material vision, but the Lord revealed Himself. So Prithu Maharaj, we actually see with Prithu Maharaj, there's actually so many chapters speaking about him, and he had constant devotion to the Lord, unalloyed, uninterrupted devotion to the Lord. And because of this constant devotion to the Lord, he sees everything in relation to Krishna. So of course, that internal potency of the Lord will be manifested to him. But for us in general, we mostly dealing with, the external energy. So we mostly will perceive that. But Yogamaya or Mahamaya, it's all the same. It's all the Lord's energy, but different departments, we could say. So, but Prithu Maharaj, he had the attitude and he had the mentality and the dealings of those that are in the spiritual world. So that's how the Lord reciprocated with him, because of his dealings. And that's a really wonderful lesson for all of us, to always be very attentive and attentive to how we deal with devotees, how we deal with the external, internal energy, how we deal with the Lord. So Prithu Maharaj, in his dealings, he was free from all of these unwanted elements. His service wasn't distracted by laziness or envy. He saw everything in relation to the Lord. In his service, he didn't manifest any lust or greed. Everyone actually appreciated Maharaj Prithu. And we even see in the sacrificial arena, even the great big demigods, even they showed up even for the sacrifice. They didn't have to be there. But because his dealings were so pleasing to everyone, that everyone wanted to actually be there. So we also see with Maharaj Prithu that he performed his duties as a king. He was a very dutiful king, but he didn't do it for his own personal benefit. He did it for the upliftment of the people. He did it to please the Lord. So everything was for others. He never thought of himself. So we can see here that his dealings were very personal, very cultured. And this is actually the devotional platform, our dealings with people, with Krishna's energy. So to have the proper dealings with everyone and everything. Like we even see that if we have the proper dealings with the material creation, it will also reciprocate. And we see at the moment how people, they exploit the world. They're just taking and taking and taking, and they don't actually care about how it will impact the environment. And therefore, look at the state that the world is in. So it is our dealings with everything. But even so, even if we are trying to, do everything properly, like chanting nicely, coming to Mangal Arati, coming to class, it's actually the attitude that matters. Because what's the use if we're coming to class, we're not listening, we're just there because we think we have to be there. So the attitude and the mentality is wrong. So this attitude and mentality that we have with the temple, with service, with Krishna, with the devotees, is very, very important, especially our dealings with the devotees. Krishna sees how, we deal with each other. He loves everyone, so when we are not dealing nicely with other people, it will hurt him, because he loves everyone. So we even see the wonderful dealings and relationships in the Srimad Bhagavatam with Krishna and the Pandavas. For them, Krishna was absolutely everything, and therefore Krishna reciprocated those feelings. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 16, Verse 16, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, simply by appreciating the dealings of the Lord with his pure devotees, one can attain salvation. The Lord's dealings with his devotees appear to be ordinary human dealings, but one who knows them in truth becomes at once eligible to go back home, back to Godhead. The Pandavas were so malleable to the will of the Lord that they could sacrifice any amount of energy for the service of the Lord, and by such unalloyed determination, they could secure the Lord's mercy in any shape they desired. And we see that mercy and that reciprocation with the Pandavas came in the form of Krishna being personally present in their lives. He was their friend, their family member, their chariot driver, their guide, their worshipable deity, their spiritual master, their supreme Lord, everything. So how we perceive the Lord, how we interact, is actually the reciprocation that we get. And then in Bhagavad Gita 9:29, Krishna says that I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. So Srila Prabhupada is saying that if we interact with the Lord through devotional service, he will give us special attention. Because yes, the Lord, he says he's partial, but of course if you are going to love him and give him special attention, he's going to naturally give us special attention. Like Krishna, yes, he's partial and he's like a rain cloud, and the rain cloud distributes the rain to everywhere, even though it's the ocean or a desert. But naturally, if we have that favorable service attitude to Krishna, naturally he will favor us more. And Bhagavad Gita 4:11, it confirms, Krishna says, as all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Prita. So everyone ultimately is searching for Krishna in different aspects. Maybe we don't even know, because some people out there, they're looking for success, they're looking for happiness, they're looking for family. And those are all things that, come from Krishna anyway. Krishna, he's the source of all wealth. Krishna had many, many wives and children. So all of these, inclinations do come from Krishna. So everything that we are searching for is ultimately from Krishna, and searching for him in different aspects. And even Krishna can be realized in different aspects. We may realize him as being the universe, this cosmic creation. We may realize him being within the heart, guiding us. Or we actually may realize him eventually to be a person who has a relationship with us. So, but only to the pure devotee, only one that tries to attain Krishna, only he can fully understand and realize Krishna. So Krishna, he reciprocates. He reciprocates according to our desires, our desire to have him. If he sees that we are actually sincerely trying to approach him, then he will come to us, like we have seen in all these verses, in all of these examples in the Srimad Bhagavatam and other Vedic literature, that Krishna, or God, he becomes personally present to people. But we must have that desire. But maybe we also have, other desires, of course. So regardless of what our desires are, we should always come to Krishna anyway, because Krishna is the source of everything. We may go to many other things or approach many other people for our desires, but ultimately it's Krishna that is going to permit and allow things. So we go to Krishna anyway, regardless of what our desire is. So, many of the devotees from the Srimad Bhagavatam, they had this direct contact with Krishna. And it really can be possible if we actually truly desire it. But that's the price we have to pay. That's the qualification, is that desire. So that intense desire and that intense eagerness, that is the actual price for Krishna consciousness. Yes, you may be doing so many things in Krishna's service, but do you truly have the desire to see Krishna? Do you truly have the desire to want to serve Krishna and to understand and know him? Or do we have other desires that are kind of infiltrating, our service? So Krishna, he sees that. He sees that eagerness, that desire. And, I think a really wonderful blessing that we can receive from, our spiritual masters or from devotees is to always be enthusiastic in devotional service. And enthusiasm means, to endeavor with intelligence, meaning that we continue on this path no matter what, because we know and we understand that it is the highest path to perfection, the highest path to spiritual realization. And all that we need to do is actually just want it. In material life, I guess, people always, use that word, to manifest something. That's like a popular thing, like, you can get anything you want, just manifest it in your mind. And, mostly things are kind of karmically decided, but in terms of spirituality, it is true. If you do want something, if you do want Krishna, if you do truly want to serve Krishna, then it will happen. So we can actually manifest Krishna personally, to become personally present in our lives. We just have to truly desire it. But then we also can think, how do we increase our desire? How do we increase our enthusiasm or eagerness to attain Krishna? And it's quite simple. Just associate with people that have that intense eagerness, that have that desire, because that always will rub off on you. I'm sure we've all seen that when one of the swamis come and they have that intense desire and eagerness to serve Krishna, when they come and visit, then everyone all of a sudden is very enthusiastic to do service. So it's, if we can always try to be in association with those that have that intense desire and greed for devotional service. And that doesn't necessarily have to be, the swamis. That can be anyone. There are a lot of people at the temple coming that truly, desire to serve Krishna. So if we can associate with them, we can ourselves have that desire. And by having that desire, Krishna reciprocates. And by Krishna reciprocating, we can actually personally perceive him and have direct personal contact with him. So I'll stop there. And Jai Prabhu, would you like to share thoughts? Just wait, Jai Prabhu, so the online audience can hear what you're saying. Otherwise they miss everything.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for that nice presentation. Interestingly, you made a point about attitude. Yeah, and I was reflecting, I came across that word in Prabhupada, in the preface of Upadeshamrita, Rupa Goswami Nectar, and he says that depends on the attitude of the follower, how we pursue Krishna consciousness. It depends on our attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, of course, other things you mentioned later in that about being enthusiastic, utsahan, the utsahan, determination, patience, and all these things will come. And then you mentioned about Navasta, that trying to see God, because we have to have the eyes to see God. But and Bhakti Siddhanta said, don't try to see God.
Yeah.
But we should act in such a way that God sees us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is the attitude we should have, that God sees us through our service. Of course, then Brahma Samhita is also that unless one is changed with the salve of love. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. Unless one has changed with the love of God, you will never experience that Krishna. And of course, when we don't have taste and we don't have for the holy name, all this, is concomitant factors for engaging in devotion. The taste for the holy name is like Rupa Goswami mentions that we are in a jaundiced condition if we don't Like, when you have jaundice is an infection of the liver, isn't it? And everything tastes bitter. But the cure for that is sugar candy, isn't it? So sugar candy is like synonymous with the holy name. When we attach to the holy name, then we get a taste for the cure for that, for this jaundice-like condition. And then we can revive our Krishna consciousness and dedicate our attitude, project our attitude towards the right. Like Maharaj Prithu, perfect example, is ideal example of that. As a king, as a leader, he sets the perfect example, which is in contrast to the modern day leaders, and it's
completely opposite.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, thank you.
Thank you, Jai Prabhu. Anyone else like to share anything? No.
Hare Krishna. Thank
Hare
you for the
Krishna.
class. Very many nice points. Just a few that are running through my head. Just a side note on what Jai Prabhu was saying about seeing the Lord and darshan. I was listening somewhere and the speaker was actually saying that we always have this idea that darshan is you come and you see the Lord, but actually darshan is when you come before the Lord and He sees you.
Yeah.
You stand in front of Him with everything that's in your heart, and He has the opportunity to interact with you.
Yeah.
Something that I got from your class is that whether our dealings with other devotees, with ourselves, with the broader community, whatever, we really need to find a way to humanize our interactions with each other. Bhakti is a very deep process. It's a very elevated process. And we're all trying to reach that point, but maybe many of us are not quite there yet. But we need to remember that what we're aspiring for is an ideal.
Yeah.
It's not some, harsh enforcement. Because I notice this even with myself when I'm interacting with someone. With regards to service, sometimes I have this idea that the way to do it is my way. This is the correct way of bhakti. But maybe it's not necessarily that, there are many ways to cook a sabji, for example. Doesn't necessarily have to be my way. But I have this mood that if you listen to me and if you do it this way, then you're doing spiritual life correctly. And also, like, I was listening to Chaitanya Charan speaking on this concept of humanizing our interactions with others. And he was saying, even within like the context of preaching, a lot of the time we have this idea of conversion.
Yeah.
But that's not what Prabhupada was about in one sense. He even said that Krishna consciousness means making a Christian a better Christian, a Muslim a better Muslim, applying the principle of love of Godhead in your own life. And I think that's also where we fall short on the human interaction in our preaching.
Yeah.
If we could go out and see that, okay, I'm not trying to convert you in that sense, but let me add value to whatever space of life you're in. Because there are some people who, they love Krishna consciousness, but maybe they can't become Krishna conscious because of their responsibility overtly, externally, but internally they're fully there. So if we just have that mood of when we go out, let me add value to your life, whatever space your life is in now, and whatever you take from that is good enough. Because whether you're a devotee or a non-devotee, in that sense, Krishna is orchestrating your life. In the broader sense, it's not that my presence in your life is going to make the difference. Krishna is already in your life, no matter where you are. He's already in charge, doing what he needs to do.
Yeah, it's a nice point because it's true, like, especially in our preaching, to be more personal, to understand where that specific person is in their life and adding value, like you said, and it's true. I mean, in the Shastra and everything, there is something of value for everyone. They can, even if they don't even believe in God, they can still find some value in what is given. You know, like I was telling you the other day that, you know, the first book that when I got some of the books from a devotee, and I was also like, okay, I'm gonna just read the books and kind of just skip the parts about God, because I'm not really interested in God at all. But let me find something of, you know, maybe I'll find something. And I did, you know, I did find something of value there, even though I didn't want to know anything about God. So it is, we can really be very personal in our dealings and, yeah, humanize preaching. It's really, really nice, because it's looking at the person, not like, my goal is to make many, many devotees and bring them to the temple. No, but to actually make personal connections. And I mean, like, that's what we're trying to do with our university preaching. You know, even though not like all of the students are chanting 16 rounds and following regulative principles, but we're at least trying to understand them as human beings and try to understand, you know, where they are at life, you know, what are their struggles, what are their needs and concerns, you know, things like that. And just add some kind of, and Krishnaize their life in some way or form, you know, and then they pick up on something that they like, and then you just fan that. Yeah, thank you. Oh.
Yeah, you said something also about what was, maybe you have to clarify that. You said Yoga Maya and Mahamaya are the same, they're not different. Something to that effect. Can you explain that?
So I was saying Yogamaya and Mahamaya, they're the same, meaning they both come from Krishna, but it's like different departments, you know.
Okay. Explain
like
more.
the, you know, educational departments and the correctional departments, something like that. Just meaning that, you know, Krishna's energies all are from him, essentially. So they are one because they come from the same source. But how we are dealing with him and how we are interacting with him, you know, is where the difference is. Mahamaya is obviously to cover us because we wanted to forget Krishna. And Yogamaya is to connect with us when we want to understand and know Krishna. So, yeah.
Mother Yashoda is also covered by
Sorry?
Yogamaya.
Yogamaya also covers, yes,
Yes.
but covers with the blanket of love,
Yes.
not with ignorance.
Not seeing Krishna as God.
Yeah, because of course Krishna, like, you know, he does. It's like Senal, the big CEO of a company. When he goes home, he doesn't want his kids to treat him like the big CEO of a company. He wants to treat them with a loving relationship. So he hides the fact that he's some big person.
Yeah, in Kunti's prayers, Kunti's, she's the pastime where Krishna was tied, Damodar Leela. She's saying how it is so like bewildering. Isn't it? Krishna is like he says, fear personified is afraid of Krishna, yet Krishna is afraid of Mother Yasoda's stick. She's trying out to reconcile that.
Yeah.
Fear personified is afraid, yet Krishna is running away in fear and crying, isn't it? Shedding tears of fear.
Yeah. But like even that bewilderment is a way to attract us more to Krishna, because imagine if we just figured Krishna out completely. You know, where's the fun in that? Where's the mystery? Everyone likes some mystery and mysteriousness in someone. So even that bewilderment, that covering, it's to attract us more.
Yeah. Prabhupada he makes a comparison between Kunti, older Kunti is Krishna's maternal aunt, and Mother Yasoda is his foster mother, but Yasoda's love for him is higher. Kunti was seeing Krishna in a mood of awe and reverence, not as the child she's seen as God.
Yeah.
And Mother Yasoda was chastising him. You are my son, I'm not to chastise you and tie you up.
Yeah, wow. I don't know if I can ever understand chastising God. So I don't think I can further
When you must
explain on that.
Of course, to become Krishna, you have to perform austerity. They perform for thousands of years. Yasoda, Nanda Maharaj, Devaki, they perform austerities. Yes, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Jai Prabhu. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.